this is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
The springtime thaw is finally here. Flowers are blooming. Days are longer. We're saying yes to more plans and finally getting outside, running, walking, just moving again. It's the perfect time to upgrade your everyday go-tos with Bombas. Take Bombas sport socks. They're super comfortable and designed with sport-specific tech for running, cycling, yoga, hiking, you name it. I use them to run in, and I can tell you they work beautifully. So head over to bombas.com and use code SYSK for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com, code SYSK at checkout. Hey, and welcome to The Short Stuff. I'm Josh, there's Chuck, and we're sitting in for Jerry, who usually sits in for Dave. So, yeah, let's go.
Let's go. This is, it's a follow-up to our Doomsday Clock episode, but it turns out we didn't do a Doomsday Clock episode. I know we've talked about this, so it might have been in when we were doing videos years ago. I think it was probably in one of those, but I know for a fact the only reason I would have known about this is because of this job and you.
That makes me feel good that I wasn't completely unaware that we had done an episode on Doomsday Clocks.
Yeah, it popped up in some place, but what's the Doomsday Clock, Josh?
So the Doomsday Clock is a metaphorical clock that is operated or overseen by the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists, which was a group of scientists who had worked on the Manhattan Project. They got together and they said, we need to create a group that is going to basically keep an eye on this nuclear proliferation that's starting up. And one of the things they did in 1947 was create the Doomsday Clock. And it essentially is this, I guess it's a graphic representation of how close humanity is to self-inflicted disaster, like a nuclear war.
Perfectly said. Thanks. Elegantly said, dare I say.
You.
Yeah, so like you said, been around since 1947. They set the time every year. It's sort of a thing where they say, like, all right, the time for this year is going to be this. Would they move it forward if something really went down within a year?
I think they do it every year.
So, like, in January, they set it, and if, like, 4 months later, like, the S goes down, they wouldn't be like, they'd be like, no, got to wait till next year.
Well, I think two things would happen. Either it would be something that they would take into account the next year, yes, or the world would end and they wouldn't have anything to do anyway.
Okay. But again, we're talking about it this year because there was, and, you know, we'll talk about a little bit how it's fluctuated over the years, but the reason we bring it up is because this year, January 28th, 2025, is when they moved the second hand on the clock forward to 89 seconds to midnight. Yeah. Which means it's the closest that the clock has ever been to midnight since they started.
Yeah. Since they started, or when they started, in 1947, when the U.S. and Russia were starting the Cold War, creating nukes, testing nukes out in the open, underground, in space, there was 7 minutes to midnight. We're now less than 2 minutes away from midnight because stuff is just so close to hitting the fan. And we should say that they've actually moved the clock backward. They've moved the second hand backwards further away from midnight in the past. And the furthest away it was from midnight was 1991 after the Soviet Union dissolved. It was all the way back from 17 minutes to midnight, which is, I think that's called tiki time.
Yeah, it's like bust out the rum, everybody.
Exactly. We
got
good.
17 minutes.
Yeah.
The closest pre this time in 2025 was in 1953. It was 2 minutes before midnight. So we were 89 seconds till midnight, and the closest previous was 2 minutes. So that's, you know, it's pretty drastic. And again, you know, I guess we can go ahead and mention one of the criticisms of this is that it's something that just gins up. The critics will say it's something that just gins up paranoia in people and like pushes the panic button. And what is it even doing? But what it's doing, I think it's a valuable thing because it just raises awareness every year with people. It's just another thing to kind of say, hey, like we're not headed in the right direction as humanity goes.
Yeah. So the first editor of the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists was Eugene Rabinowitz. And Eugene Rabinowitz said that the purpose of the Doomsday Clock is to, quote, frighten men into rationality.
Yeah.
And to basically say, like, hey, this stuff's out of control, people. You need to be paying attention to these things because they don't just say we're 89 seconds from midnight. See you next year. They explain what the reasoning is for moving or even not moving or moving back the second hand. And this year, being 89 seconds, the closest we've ever been, they had a whole crop of issues that go well beyond the nuclear risk that was originally, the clock was originally designed to track. And I say we take a break and we come back and talk about why we're so close to midnight right now, according to the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists. Hey everybody, we're here to talk to you about Wayfair, who believes that spaces should be functional, they should be comfortable, they should be well-designed, and they can be well-designed by you with their help.
Your updated space should feel more comfortable, inviting, and practical for everyday use. And we're talking about outdoor seating. We're talking about grills. We're talking about major appliances. If you need storage solutions, Wayfair can help you out. Patio lighting, rugs, decor. It is your one-stop shop for home.
Yeah. I mean, it's getting nice out, so it's time to think about living outdoors for the next few months. And Wayfair knows that outdoor furniture, it's heavy, it's intimidating to assemble. So Wayfair has stepped in and said, we're going to handle the hard part so you don't have to.
That's right. You can shop Wayfair Verified, your shortcut to the good stuff. And that means their team of product specialists are going to vet everything by hand using a 10-point inspection, testing things like, quality materials, functionality, and features, and even how long it takes to build that piece of furniture. And the overall experience save time, reduce hassle, and improved convenience.
Patio season is here, and these deals won't last. So head to wayfair.com right now to get your outdoor space ready for way less. That's WAYFAIR.com.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Dell PCs with Intel Inside are built for the moments that matter, for the moments you plan and the ones you don't. Built for the busy days that turn into all-night study sessions, the moment you're working from a cafe and realize every outlet's taken.
Yeah, the times you're deep in your flow and the absolute last thing you need is an auto update throwing off your momentum. That's why Dell builds tech that adapts to the way you actually work. Built with a long-lasting battery so you're not scrambling for the closest outlet, and built-in intelligence that makes updates around your schedule, not in the middle of it.
That's right. They don't build tech just for tech's sake. They build it for you. Find technology built for the way you work at Dell.com/Dell PCs. Built for you. All right, everyone, we're back. We're 80 seconds to midnight. Not 10 minutes to midnight like Charles Bronson was in that great movie.
What was it called? 10 Minutes to Midnight?
Yeah. You didn't see that one?
No.
No, you should check that out. It's got a couple of choice scenes. It's about a creepy serial killer that he's chasing.
Oh, Bronson's not the creepy serial killer? He's being chased by a creepy dude?
Charles Bronson is always the guy on the hunt for the bad guy.
Have you ever seen Death Wish 3, where like the group of punks is taking over the neighborhood?
Yeah, all the Death Wish movies. I mean, the first one was genuinely pretty good, but they got really sort of over the top after a while.
Yeah, it was good though.
That's good. You got a Death Wish, pal? This is my favorite impression to do, by the way.
I can't wait till you get your Morgan Freeman down.
Oh, no. I don't think so. All right. So how do we get 89 seconds to midnight? This comes direct from the Bulletin website. Some we can kind of summarize. A few of these I'm just going to read outright because it's so sort of expertly put. Mm-hmm. But the first thing is the ongoing war in Ukraine and not just that, but the nuclear risk therein involved. In the third year of that conflict that, hopefully it doesn't go that way. Maybe things are wrapping up, but at the peak of this thing, like any weird bad decision could have led to something like that happening.
Yeah, same with the Middle East right now. That can spiral out of control and suck in nuclear powers against one another. That's a nuclear risk for sure. And then we're back to increasing the size of our nuclear arsenals, which is a reverse of what we were doing in the 80s and 90s, where we were getting rid of them. That's not a good sign. And then one other thing, too, and this is definitely new, countries that hadn't had nukes before were basically like, well, we're never going to have nukes because that's just not the way things are. It's changed geopolitically, and now countries are starting to think about developing their own nuclear programs where if you have more countries with more nukes, you have that much more risk.
Yeah, for sure. Climate change is the next thing they have listed. And, this one kind of speaks for itself. We don't need to beat a dead horse, but their take basically is that global greenhouse gas emissions are still rising. No one is doing enough to combat this. This is bringing on extreme weather and climate change events or climate change influenced events. And it's affecting people all over the world. And even if we're growing things like solar and wind, it's just not fast enough and not nearly enough to make a dent in the damage that's being done.
Right. Also, there's the biological arena, as they put it.
Oh, boy, this one is very scary.
That's the most mucusy arena.
Yeah, but obviously coming out of COVID and with the avian flu now expanding, to farm animals, to dairy products, human cases, all this stuff is very scary. And the point of this episode isn't to scare the crud out of everybody.
No.
But it's hard to read the stuff and not get the crud scared out of you sometimes.
Yeah. Also, don't leave AI on the sidelines in their disruptive technology part. They were like, yes, AI. They didn't get into the existential threat that AI itself posed. They more looked at it like, hey, some militaries are starting to incorporate AI in their battlefield decision making. Like we're a step away from AIs deciding whether to kill or not kill, and then eventually giving AIs control over our nuclear arsenals. And that's not a direction we want to be going. And then the whole thing, this is the reason why all these things that have been around for a while or have been developing for a while have been accelerated to 89 seconds from midnight because of the threat multiplier of misinformation and disinformation and conspiracy theories.
Yeah, and this is the one I wanted to read a part or two from this because it just kind of speaks volumes. I think they really put it very succinctly. Mm-hmm. Spread of misinformation, disinformation, and conspiracy theories that degrade the communication ecosystem, increasingly blur the lines between truth and falsehood. And then they talk about AI making it even, we've talked about deepfake video and stuff like that, like making all that stuff just so much easier. Mm-hmm. And then this final line is really, really good. The battered information landscape is also producing leaders who discount science and endeavor to suppress free speech and human rights, compromising the fact-based public discussions that are required to combat the enormous threats facing the world. So, all of the problems that we've been listing are bad enough. And then when you've got disinformation and conspiracy theories and misinformation thrown on top of that, and AI exacerbating all that, that's when it's like they're moving that clock as close to midnight as they've ever been.
Yeah, and the reason why is because people would be under that circumstance, they're being led away from paying attention to the stuff the Doomsday Clock is warning against. And that just makes it that much riskier, too, because we have to be paying attention to it, whether you like it or not. For some reason, when I was researching this today, I was like, this is striking me as a little ridiculous. And I get the point of it, and I think it is noble and worthy, but there's also some real, real criticisms of it. And I found one piece by a guy named Stephen Johnson on Lifehacker, and he interviewed Lawrence Krauss, who's a physicist and a member of the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists. The New Republic interviewed Krauss, and he said it's not scientific. It's a number that's arrived at by a group of people who are exploring each of the questions, then having a huge amount of discussion, and ultimately convergence on a number. That number is frankly arbitrary. And that's true. You have to remember it's a metaphor. There's no way to measure.
Right.
Okay,
exactly.
If we're 89 seconds from midnight right now, how much longer is the world going to last?
Yeah.
And the big problem with it, I think, is National Geographic put it, if everything's a crisis, nothing's a crisis. So before, the whole thing was created to say this one thing, nuclear proliferation. This is what we're warning about. Now you've got climate change, AI, avian flu, disinformation. It's just like being piled on. And I think it's really diluted the point and the pointedness of the whole thing.
Yeah, maybe. But that's also the world we're living in right now.
Yeah, but it makes it so easy to just be like, oh, well, I give up. I'm going to just go pay attention to, I don't know, flowers versus zombies. Do people play that still?
I didn't know that was a thing.
I think it was at some point, unless I had a fever dream.
Well, you didn't have a fever dream. One thing, whether or not you agree with the Doomsday Clock or not, one thing I can recommend, because you're too humble to, is a little limited podcast series called The End of the World with Josh Clark. That way you can really learn something and take a deep dive into real existential threats that face humanity.
Thanks, Chuck. I appreciate that.
Holds up. Still great. I imagine. I haven't gone back and listened to it again. I bet it still holds up, though.
Yeah. Well, because one of the number one rules in show business is leave them wanting more, I say short stuff is out.
Stuff You Should Know is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.